September inflation zoomed to 6.9% in September, up from 6.3% in August. The PSA says this is the highest recorded inflation since October 2018. Despite this, the September print falls within the Bangko Sentral's forecast of 6.6 to 6.4%. The PSA attributes the jump mainly to higher prices of food and non-alcoholic beverages, but during the lagging handa briefing, the NEDA said they have already laid down plans to slow inflation, focusing on food supply and assisting the vulnerable sectors.
So, in the near term po, kailangan natin ma-ensure ang sufficient na supply ng pagkain, sufficient food supply, while assisting ang ating most vulnerable sectors. And we hope that this will help us hurdle the current challenges that we are facing regarding inflation.
Here to discuss the 6.9% September inflation rate and what the rest of the year may look like for the Philippines, we have JC Punongbayan, Assistant Professor of the UP School of Economics. He's joining us via Zoom. Good evening and welcome to The Big Story, JC.
Good evening.
So, I'll just repeat the question, JC. What does the latest number say, and what do you see for the final quarter and for the rest of the year?
Unfortunately, Sir Robbie, this is but the latest spike in the inflation rate, and we might expect even higher inflation in the near term, especially if food supply problems are not addressed. As you mentioned, inflation is mainly because of food and non-alcoholic beverages. So we have to solve food supply issues, but unfortunately, some analysts say that there might be a rice crisis or a rice shortage by the end of this year. So that might further fuel inflation in the coming months.
Yeah, but JC, it's not just analysts. Even the Department of Agriculture is predicting, is saying 20% increase by the end of the year just for rice alone. What can government actually do?
Well, this is actually part and parcel of a bigger problem in the agriculture sector. For the longest time, it has not been contributing so much to total production. And unfortunately, we can see that it's not just rice. For example, in the past couple of months, we saw shortages of sugar, as well as white onions and other basic commodities. So it's a structural problem that affects many parts of the agriculture sector. So we need to expect more from the Department of Agriculture if we want to see inflation go down in the coming months.
Now, speaking of expecting more, can we expect more rate hikes from the BSP to arrest inflation by the end of the year?
There are signs, Gretchen, that inflation expectations in the U.S. may be abating, and this might somehow abate as well the rate increases that we have seen from the U.S. Fed, because you have to note that the interest rate hikes of the BSP, basically they're just following the direction of the rate hikes of the U.S. Fed. So for as long as the Fed will continue to increase its interest rates, we can expect even higher interest rates in the Philippines. And it's not just the US. Many other countries, for example, the European Central Bank has also increased its rates. In fact, some analysts say that we might be headed to a global recession because of the successive interest rate hikes of central banks globally. One analyst said that the probability of a global recession right now could be as high as 98%.
JC, we're facing crisis on many fronts. That is a fact. That is fair to say. Nonetheless, it is going to be the first 100 days of this administration, factoring in and allowing for all external factors. What is your assessment of how this administration has performed on the economic front in its first 100 days?
Robbie, it's quite unfair to pin all of these problems on the president and his administration. These are global problems that we are facing, and in a way, the president has been quite unlucky that he came to power at a time like this. But that is not to say that
seem to have had technical problems at a crucial time when we were going to hear from JC Punongbayan. We apologize for that, and unfortunately, I think we don't have any time to try to catch up with JC. We'll catch him in some other show, definitely. In the meantime, maraming salamat, JC Punongbayan.